So thanks very much for your introduction. So even in Japanese, but I get some keywords. So also get some motivation for me to learn Japanese. Probably next time I could understand more. So first of all, I would like to thank Professor Yoshida and also Kyoto University to offer me this great opportunity to be here. Actually, it's the first time for me to come to Japan. I really appreciate I could have 3 months to stay here, so which allow me not only understand the research in Japan deeply, but also allow me to know the daily life and also culture here. So I'm already quite impressive. So when I was told I could have a chance to give a talk in general way, which is not limited by my research, so then I do think about what should I talk. So finally I decided to say something about the challenge and the responsibility of young scientists in China. There are many reasons. First of all, I think I'm still young, so I'm a young scientist. I'm thinking about this question from time to time. There also have some other reasons I would like to show you. So actually, over the past 20 years, so many young Chinese people like me actually did our bachelor and master study in China, and then we go abroad, especially into a top university, to do our PhD, and also after that postdoc, and even work there for some years. But after that, many of these people come back to China to start their own career. So why? Actually, my previous colleague in Germany and Switzerland, they often ask me this question. So today I want to try my best to give an answer. So secondly, I think many years ago, when I was a PhD student at the University of Zurich, so one day when I was in the main station in Zurich, so I saw one picture which show actually the people around the world. So I saw one Chinese people look something like this. Still is from Qing dynasty. So this also motivated me to want to show you something actually in the past 20 years. Actually, China has huge changes. And today, we're completely different. And I would like to show you actually for our young generation, what do we face today. So my talk will contain the following 4 parts. The first part, I will show you actually the current situation of China, which could give you more background of this topic. Secondly, I will show you the talent program, which mainly was developed in the last 10 years, and this have very strong influence on young scientists. After these 2 parts, I will show you actually the challenge and the responsibility of young scientists. Actually, you could get, Actually, you could get this information from these 2 parts. Finally, I will give you a very brief introduction of Sichuan province and our university. So according to the World Bank report, in 2016, the GDP of China already ranked second in the world. So even we are still far from to USA, we have to say this is already a great achievement. Especially when we look at this figure, since the reform and opening up, China's economy has continued to grow with an average growth more than 9.6% every year. So this means from 1978 to 2016, the GDP of China increased more than 200 times in such short time. So you could imagine there is a huge change. And also on the other hand, this is also a very high challenge. Take me as an example. So I was born in 1981, it's here. So you could say the GDP is very low. And with the time, it grows very fast. For example, in 2007, I went abroad to do my PhD. So like in 2009, 2010, when I was back to my hometown, I even cannot find a way because almost everywhere under construction, under a lot of new roads. So even for adapt, its change is already a challenge. So how about the rapid economic development influence the common Chinese people. I will show you two examples. The first from transportation. So Japan already had the Shinkansen in 1964, but in China it's not the case. The foundation of China is very poor. So which means, I show this example from Beijing to Shanghai, it's just 1,500 kilometers. But the duration time in 1980s, if we take a tree, it took 26 hours. Even in 2000, it still take around 20 hours. I think you cannot imagine. It's really a long time. But with the rapid development of highway rails, in 2017, the time decreased just to 5 hours. So which means now the high-speed rail become the first of choice for us to go to our city. In addition, so from automobiles, from 2000 to 2015, increased 11 times. When I was a child, actually, only very rich family could have their own automobile, but now almost every family had their own automobile. Another example from communication. In 2016, China's internet penetration already more than 15%. In 2017, the number of mobile 4G base stations distributed in China has reached to 1.62 million, with a coverage population of more than 1.3 billion. So what's this meaning? Actually, the e-business has almost changed the lifestyle of Chinese people. I could take an example. If you need to go outside, the most important thing is not to take your wallet, not to take your credit card. Just don't forget to take your mobile phone. Because using mobile phone, you can almost do everything. So you can pay for a taxi, you can pay for a hotel, you can pay for a flight ticket. And use this software, we call it Alipay wallet and WeChat payment. Fortunately, I already see this action logos in some Japanese shopping mall, which means we also can use it here. So why the economy of China can develop so fast? There are many factors. I'm not an expert in this field. I just list three factors, just in my opinion. The first reason is the high investment. From this table, the rate of capital formation of China is very high. It's near to 14%. The second is the high accumulation. So from this table, you can say China is very high. So Japan is also not low. The most important factor is from high energy consumption. So compared to America and Japan, the energy consumption for China is very high. It's almost, let's say, 8 times higher than Japan. So this figure shows energy consumption accounted for global population in 2013. So even the GDP of China is the second, but the energy consumption is already become a top one. Here, I think Japan is very impressive because the GDP of Japan ranked third in the world, but the energy consumption is only 3.7. So which means the economic development of Japan is more sustainable. In this case, I think we do need to learn a lot from Japan. Moreover, the growth in energy consumption in China increased sharply year by year. So which means we do have a problem from energy. On the other hand, the technology for utilization of energy in China is limited, accompanied with high consumption but low efficiency. So which means we do need technology innovation. This figure shows the development of energy production structure in China. So it is clear the main energy resource in China is coal. And even our government pay more attention to the clean energy. From this figure, you can see the natural gas, hydronuclear, and wind power actually, the ratio increase. But the main energy resource is still coal until 2008. And the energy production from coal is near to 18%. So everyone knows coal is not a clean energy. The use of coal, of course, will cause a lot of environmental problems. I will not go into the details. I just want to show you one example, the problem from the smoke. And this now become, let's say this word become very popular in China. So especially in winter, everyone talk about that. Even my son, who is only, let's say 5 years old, in winter he will ask me, how about the PM 2.5 today? So he already know that. So this is actually a big issue now in China. This figure actually show you also actually the concentration of this particle decreased year by year. And our government did a lot of work, but even in 2015, the cities which can meet the standard is only around 20%, which means we still have a very long way to go. So, to keep the fast development of economy and also meet the sustainable development, we have to restructure the developed style from extensive style to intensive style, which will bring a lot of changes. For example, from high investment to low investment, from high accumulation to high consumption, and from waste of resource to conservation of resource. The most important, we will need to change from the labor intensive to technology intensity. All of this, we do need high technology. We do need the innovation of technology. How we achieve that? So for technology innovation, structural adjustment, and sustainable development, all of this, we do need talent. I think this is a key factor. Without talent, without people, nothing will change. So I would like to give a short summary for the first part. So GDP of China has increased by more than 200 times in very short time. So which actually is very important to understand the current situation of China. Secondly, the economic development has improved our daily life and even the lifestyle. Thirdly, the energy and the environment issues are brought about along with the rapid economic development, which we have to face and have to find a solution for these problems. Of course, it's really a challenge. The development of high technology is essentially demanded to keep up the pace of economic development. In the end, talents are essential to promote the transformation of development. But now the question is that how we can train and attract more and more talents to come back and work in China. So I would like to move to second part. Actually, even just at the beginning of reform and opening up in 1978, our government already started to send some people to abroad, especially to developed country, to learn new technology and advanced technology. Even they have very, very few, only 15 people. And this amount increased very fast, especially from 2007. This process is accelerated. In 2015, compared to 1978, increased near to 500 times. So this increase actually is in line with the development of economy. So we could get this conclusion actually, with the development of economy, the country pays more and more attention to the training of talents. And more and more people are sent abroad, mainly due to the growth of economy. So 2008 is a very important year for China because Beijing hosted the Olympic game. Not only because of race. Actually in 2008, China initiated the recruitment program of global experts. It's also known as the 1,000 Talent Plan, under which it would bring in overseeing top talents to China over the next 5 to 10 years who can make breakthrough in key technologies. Actually, this is a very important program because previously we always send the people to abroad and learn technology, but now we launch a program to attract people come back to China, not only limited to Chinese people, also open for foreigners. So I will show you this program. So this program has 2 levels. One level is higher, is for innovative talents. Another level is for young scientists. So for innovative talents, we have 2 sub-projects. One is for long-term, which means these scientists have to come to China with full-time job. But this sometimes is difficult because for this level, talents already had their maybe professor position abroad and also family there. They already adapt their work and life there. It's difficult for them to come back to China with the whole family. So then we have a short-term project, which means for this talent, they only need to come to China to work like in 2 months. It also can give China a big help. They can launch a group there. So the most actually important from this program is for young scientists. And China pay more and more attention to young scientists because compared to innovative talents, young scientists is more active and is more flexible. And they just at the beginning of their own career, so they have more motivation. So for innovative talents is very high level. So you have to be a professor abroad in a top university, at least be an associate professor. Today I will not go into this direction. I will more focus on young scientists. So for young scientists, it's still very, very competitive. So first of all, you have to get a PhD degree from a top overseas university. Secondly, you have to have a formal teaching and research position in very famous university. One critical point is that you have to be below than 14 years old. If you are older than that, no chance. Finally, you have to be excellent enough. So this can be reflected from your publication, your invited talk, your book chapter, and like reputation, whatever. But this is very competitive. So this figure shows actually the age distribution for scholars who get this support. From this figure is clear actually the main domination for young scientists actually from 13 to 36 years old. So you can imagine actually for fresh PhD students, it's almost impossible to get this support. You always after a PhD you should do several years postdoc or other related research position to get more reputation. So how is young scientist can be supported? Once you get a scholar, first of all, your salary, you will get around 0.5 million yuan at once from the government. This from a central government. And from a local government, they will support normally the equal amount of such money. Finally, for a salary, actually is commonly used where a salary is from 0.3 to 0.5 million yuan per year. Maybe the salary is not very high in Japan, but in China, this is extremely a lot of money. So which means a young scientist can concentrate on their research. They don't need to worry about their daily life and don't need to worry about how to earn money. Secondly, it's quite important. They can get study funding from a government without any proposal. So they can get 1 to 3 million yuan, of course, depending on their application form. Except that, normally the university will support more or less the same amount of money. So this is more than enough actually for young scientists to launch an independent group. But I will show you actually this is quite challenging, not only because of the money, also a lot of challenges for young scientists in the third part. The last good point is the housing arrangement. I don't know how about in Japan, but in China, it's very important. Almost every Chinese family want to have their own apartment. So in China, normally, if a young scientist, if they buy an apartment in a city, which means they already decide to work there for quite a long time. So normally the university will give very high housing allowance and flexible house supported by university. So from this, you can say actually for young scientists, once you can involve in this project, you will get fully support. You are very lucky, you can get a lot of resource. But this is only for overseas Chinese scholars. Of course, many domestic talents in China will complain for that because it is only open for overseas Chinese scholars. So for this reason, so in 2012, so Chinese government actually launched another very important project. It's so-called 10,000 plan. So previously it's 1,000 plan, now it's 10,000 plan. It's because 10,000 local high-level innovative talents will be selected and supported by the government in 10 years. For this project, also has different levels. So today I only show you this level for young talents. So in 10 years, we'll select 2,000 persons. The critical point is that these young talents have to be younger than 35 years old. Actually, in China, there are three very important age for young scientists. One is 35, another one is 14. The last one is 45. I don't know how about in Japan, but in India, I know has some similar situation because during my PhD study, I have a colleague from India. So he told me he have to come back to India before he is 35 years old. Otherwise, for him, it's difficult to get a good position. So now in China, we have two very important programs. As I said, is the 1,000 talents plan for overseas talents and a 10,000 talents plan for domestic talents. The two plans were implemented in parallel and coordinated. The most important things, these two big programs actually drive and direct more and more resource to open different levels of program. I will not go into the details. I just show you actually this program from world ministries and commercials. I just show you two programs. One is from Changjiang Scholar Program, which is very famous and has very high reputation in China. This program allows actually overseas Chinese talents and even foreigners to come to China to work like 1 month per year. So it's very good point. Another one is the Chunhui program of Ministry of Education. So for this program, it's allow actually we invite the overseas Chinese talent and even foreigners to come to China to have a very small workshop and meeting. For example, this year we get this supporting. So in March, we have a very small meeting with many scholars actually from Germany. So both actually Chinese and foreigners. So also the local governments actually already set up a lot of supports. I will not go into the details. So due to the strong supports for talents, actually now the overseas Chinese talent situation already start to change. From 1978 to 2015, the total number of overseas Chinese talents is more than 4 million. A lot of people actually abroad. Among them, 2.7 million people have already finished their studies. Around 18% of these people would like to come back to China. But this is not the case many years ago. For this figure, I will show you actually a change survey of overseas Chinese talents from 2005 to 2015. So you can see, after China set up the Thousand Talents program in 2008, actually the amount of Chinese talents come back increased sharply. So from this figure, I could show it more clearly. So in 2006, if 3 people going abroad, only 1 Chinese guy will come back to work in China. But in 2015, almost 1 people go abroad, and then 1 person will come back. So I will give a summary in this part. Actually, first of all, in China, we do lead high-level talents, so which is actually the most important resource to solve the challenge which we meet today. Secondly, the number of students studying abroad and returning home is increased every year. Thirdly, more and more overseas talents choose to work and live in China due to actually the significant development of economy and the enhanced support for talents. So after we have this background, so we could think about the challenge and the responsibility of Chinese young scientists. Before that, we have to know 2 things. The first of all, actually, in China, we define young scientist is younger than 45 years old. Secondly, actually, the challenge and the responsibility of young scientists is quite related to the evaluation course of higher education. I will show you actually what happened in the last 20 years for higher education in China. So this figure shows the change of gross enrollment rate in higher education after reception of college entrance examination. So in 1978, only 1.5 people have the chance to go into the university. But in 2015, almost half of the people could have the chance to go into the university. So what's this meaning? From this figure, then you can imagine. So for example, we take 2000 as an example, we have only 5 million students in the university. In 2015, we already have 28 million students in the university. On the one hand, actually in China, the education already changed from any education to popularization education. On the other hand, you could imagine we need a lot of faculties in very short time. So for this figure, we show the number of staff and full-time teachers in universities. So in 1999 is around 1 million, and in 2014 is more than 2 million. So in 15 years, so the staff in the university increased 2 times, and the number already number 1 in the world. So what's this meaning? So which means in 15 years, many young scientists become a faculty in the university. So in 2014, if we look at this figure, 17% faculty in the university is younger than 45 years old. So young scientists play more and more important role due to the rapid expansion of faculty in Chinese universities. So what's the responsibility of young scientists there? I think there are a lot. I just list 4 in my opinion. The first is the original innovation. This we do lead that to solve the challenges which we meet today. The second one is the technology transfer. This is also quite important. Actually, recently we have big argument in this issue in China. The third one is the cultural inheritance. This is also very important. The last one will be the globalization. So over the past years, as I mentioned before, many talents went back to China. Actually, a number of original achievements such as quantum communication, high temperature iron-based superconductor, and so on, had been achieved. Because for these two achievements actually were needed by professors who come back from abroad. But we still have a long way to go. For example, for automobile, many parts of automobile actually are dependent on import with a high cost of $37 billion. Why? The reason is that we lack of core technology. So if we want to change from made in China to created in China, we have to focus on the key technology. Here I show you one example. In China, the OFO and the Mobike, there are two companies to share a bike, are very popular, which means we don't need to have our own bike. We can use our mobile phone in the street. We can open whatever, any basic, then you can take it. So which is one kind of innovation. But let's say it's just some business model. It's not the technology innovation. So for young scientists, I think we should be independently innovative and master core technology. This is something we do need instead of business model. Secondly, will be the technology transfer. So now the number of Chinese international scientific publications already ranked second in the world. And the number of international patent applications and also association at the world, we ranked third. Actually, also the increase amount is very high in China. But if we look at the patent quality, from 2001 to 2009 of China is very low compared to other countries. So actually now in China, there are big argument because now many people complain that our government actually invests a lot of funding to support the publication and patent. But for a key technology, we still didn't, let's say, control a lot. The main reason actually is the low conversion rate, which means a lot of achievements is sleeping in the lab. It didn't go into the market. So now our government want to change this situation. Now the policy become very flexible. For example, if a young scientist gets some very less results in the lab and has a potential for commercialization, so this young scientist allowed to quit, but the university will keep this position for you. Then you go to the industry to stay 3 or 5 years, whatever, but maybe you failed. But you still can come back to your previous university because the position is still there. So I think since that, many young scientists start to launch their own company to try to do more about the technology transfer. So the third responsibility is cultural inheritance. So for this, I'm more talk about the scientific style. This included scientific popularization, scientific communication, and the scientific education. I think the most important is the scientific popularization. I think this is also something for young scientists in China didn't do well because we have so high pressure for publication and for funding. We don't have so much time to do that, but we have to do that because the mission of scientific popularization is a scientist. Let's do our responsibility. I think the last one is globalization. It's not only promote China's scientific research in the front of the world. Also, we should promote the China develop as more international way. I could share an example with you. I have a very good friend who is from Germany. So in 2000, he already went to China in Chinese Academy of Science. He was a professor there. And he often talked with me. He had a big problem for funding because he cannot write a proposal in Chinese. So he can only get the funding source from like international collaboration project, but he cannot get, or at least it's very difficult for him to get funding from like Nature National Science Foundation, because he have to write the proposal in English, and his colleague need to transfer the English to Chinese. It's difficult for him. So we have, as I mentioned before, in our generation, many actually young scientists with a background studying abroad, we do need to promote the development of it. So for a challenge, I also want to share something just in my opinion. The first one is a very, very high competition now. Because it has attracted a lot of overseas scholars from different ages and levels to realize their dreams through various forms in China. So now we face the challenges at different levels. The first level is at national level. So we do need technology innovation, which means we're under very high pressure, not only for publication, but also for technology transfer. For personal level, so now more quantity and high quality young scientists in China, but the funding and the research source is limited. So for young scientists under very, very high pressure to get enough funding. The last point is that I show you this finger before. You look actually the number of students in university from 2000 to 2010 increased very sharply, which means many universities open a lot of positions at that time. But after 2010, the number of students already become stable. So which means after that, there will have much less position open. So which means for young scientists has even stronger competition now. The second challenge is to build a team. I mentioned many young scientists come back to China. Also, even for domestic talents, also have a chance to become a professor at a younger age than before. But at that age, it's very difficult to build a team, not only because of the money. A good scientist not mean you can become a good group leader. There are much difference. So in March, a German professor come to visit our institute. So I talked with him. So he worried about and told me he worried about actually the research of China one day will beyond Germany. So he worried about, and he said two reasons. So her first reason, he said many young scientists actually come to Germany. So for these people actually really know how German people do research, but very few German people go to China. So for a young generation in Germany, they have no idea what happened in China. The first reason. The second reason, he said actually in Germany, it's impossible to get a professor position, let's say before 14 years old. And at that age, so you already not as active as a young scientist. So, but for young scientists, if you want to build your team at a very younger age, is really a challenge. Not only because of money, you need to know a lot of things. You need to deal with different kind of people, especially in China. So the last challenge is how to balance of work and life. So we have to face the technology innovation and family and health. So more than 60 of young scientists work more than 15 hours a week. I think in Japan it's quite similar, because I know in our lab also work quite a long time. So for most of young scientists, actually the health condition is not so good. Only 10% is under very good condition. It's because for young scientists, they don't have time to do sports. I think this is true, because I like play football. Before I come back to China, I played twice per week. Now I play it 2 times per half year. So you can imagine that so much different. So I have to say, also we have to face various challenges, both at the national level and the personal level. But I have to say, actually, this is the best of times for young Chinese scientists. If you have enough ability, if you work hard enough, you can really realize your dream. So in the end, I would like to give a brief introduction of Sichuan province and our university. Sichuan province located in the southwest of China, so is around 4 hours flight from Sichuan province to Osaka. And Chengdu is the capital of Sichuan province, so which is one of the most important economy, financing, commercial, culture, transportation, and the communication centers in Western China. So also everyone will say their hometown is good, but I want to tell you actually Sichuan province is really good because there are a lot of things you do need to try. So you know actually Sichuan province is the hometown of panda, and Sichuan food is very famous and is very hot. And even in Kyoto, you can find actually many Sichuan restaurants. And also the culture there is very special and attractive. More important actually for Sichuan people, they like play mahjong very much, no matter where they are, and no matter the time. They always play mahjong, even in the midnight. And finally, also the wine in Sichuan province is very famous. It's not like a sake here. The concentration of the white wine is very, very strong. So for the older generation, always tell you don't go to Sichuan. It's not a good place for young people because the life there is too slow and it's only good for old people. But anyway, I think work is for life. I think it's still a good place. So I want to show you some very beautiful place. Actually, the Jiuzhaigou National Park actually is a World Natural Heritage. So it's known for its many multi-level waterfalls and colorful lakes. It's very beautiful, but I could tell you I have never been there. I plan to go many times. So many of my friends tell me you should go. But for example, this time, if I'm not here, so probably I should be here. Maybe next year I have to go there. And another one is the Sichuan giant panda habitat. Actually, this is the most complete and the largest panda habitat in the world, where more than 13% of wild pandas are there. Except for natural heritage, we also have cultural heritage in Sichuan. So here I just show you one example, is the Qingcheng Mountain and the Dujiangyan irrigation project. So Qingcheng Mountain is one of the birthplace of Taoism. So in Chinese we call it Daojiao. This is only indigenous religion in China. So for Dujiangyan Dam, actually is a very famous technique for an Asian country. More than 2,000 years ago, Li Bing, as a local governor of the Shu state, designed this water control and irrigation dam. Except that, we also have the world natural and cultural heritage in Sichuan. So I only show you actually the Emei Mountain and the Neshan Border. So for Emei Mountain is one of the 4 mountain ranges in China, and the Emei Border actually is the largest border in the world. It's very, very large. So you can see the people is here. So almost you can vomit it. So it's very large. So I will give you a very short introduction of our university. So actually, unlike Kyoto University, our university completely focuses on oil and gas. why we have this university? Because China is knockoff oil. So in 1986, actually in Sichuan province, they found some oil field. So the government decided to build a university there. So in 1958, our university has been built in Sichuan province. And we have the state key laboratory of oil and gas. Actually, the petroleum and the natural gas engineering, now we are in the top 1 in China. And energy is the most important and the priority area in SWPU. So which means we only focus on 3 main topics. The first one is the traditional energy, including oil and gas. The second one is the unconventional energy. We focus on shale gas and methane hydrate. The last one is new energy. In our university, we focus on the solar energy. So I will, to let slides show our group. So as I said, we are a very young group. So we start in September 2011. So now we have 4 staff with background of materials, electrochemistry, theoretical calculation, and photocatalysis, and 1 postdoc from India, and 8 PhD students, as well as 18 master students there. In our group, we focus on 3 topics. The first one is clean utilization of oil and gas. The second one is photocatalysis for indoor air purification. So we want to do something for the PM 2.5. The last point is in situ technologies for material synthesis and catalytic reaction. So thanks for your attention, and we warmly welcome you to visit us. Thank you very much.